Fair enough, Howard. We saw the sad news, and we played the clip earlier from Tony Dorsett talking about where he is right now. One of your former teammates, Leonard Marshall, also relating to CTE, and that we spoke to an old teammate of yours a little while ago, Harry Carson, and he made it clear from his generation what he's seen in some of his former teammates. And he said for him, he's got a son, and he said, you know what, I told him even though he had a ride at a major D1 program, there'd be a problem in their relationship if the kid put on the helmet and pads and played at that level. You're a dad yourself. Knowing what you know and playing through your generation like you do you share some of the same concerns as Harry Carson, that what lies ahead not just for you, but also would you have second thoughts about your kid playing?
No, actually, I don't have the same thoughts. I do take a different view of the head injury thing. I think it is terrible. I think that there are a lot of guys that do suffer, but if there's thousands and thousands of guys, 10 or 12 guys are just part of the pool, and we have a lot of research that needs to be done to prove what's going on, and not only to prove what's going on, to prove how we can prevent what's going on. My son plays football now. He's a very animated, excited player. No concussions, thank God, but he does play with his head out of the game. I think there was an era and a time when guys led with their head, and they put their head in as a weapon or a battering ram, trying to make a point in the game. I think now that we know that those injuries are long-lasting, we're going to look at them. But the same way we look at them in football, girls soccer has a lot of head injuries. Lacrosse has a lot of head injuries. Hockey has a lot of head injuries. And we would just outlaw boxing if you think about it. Again, I think it's another case of football being the big money maker, and we want to point out how bad something is in football when we haven't looked at society as a whole to try to grasp it. Again, I don't believe that all these guys are not injured. I don't believe that all these guys aren't suffering. I believe there are a lot of guys that are suffering. I do believe there are a lot of guys that are injured. And my heart, my prayers go out to them. But at the same time, we enjoyed the game and we understood what we were getting ourselves involved in, and we loved it. It's going to be a tough road to hold. I don't know how to explain it other than if you knew this was going to happen to you, would you have still done it? And I'd hate to say it, but I believe a lot of guys would say yes.
And almost to a man, when asked that question, they all say yes, just like you said, Howard. But anybody who remembers you as a player knows you stayed in and you blocked, you went across the middle, you took hard hits. Do you have any worries what life's going to be like for you when you get to your 50s, your 60s? A lot of guys say they don't know. I've heard a lot of guys, former pros who played with you in your same era, saying, I see what's happening to guys as they get older. I'm a little worried what's going to happen to me.
Every year, medicine advanced. I'll just put it like that. When I came into the league, I watched guys with zippers on their knees, zippers on their shoulders, trying to get up, trying to figure out how to keep going, and the surgery just wasn't there. The information wasn't there. When we were kids, we took salt pills because we were dehydrated. Now we know that's the worst thing possible. Gatorade is one of the highest selling sports drinks in the world, about replacing electrolytes. But at the same time, we know that sugar and salt draw fluids from your body. Like I said, we're an evolving nation. We're an evolving sport. We're an evolving medical world. I think every year we're going to get better and we're going to understand more. And I think we just have to, get in with that and understand that. I don't think that we take anything away from past eras. I don't think we pull a curtain or sheet over it. But I think we use it, study it, and we try to get better all the time. Your car that you drove in the 50s and 60s is not your Tesla that you may purchase today.
I wish I drove a Tesla. Howard, last question. You've not only played, but you also covered the league. And I've heard from players who say, with the recent settlement that was out there, it was telling because the league has put in new safety precautions. Like you said, you can't lead with your head. There are major fines, suspensions that come along with it. But they also, in the settlement, didn't release 20 years of studies that they've done into this, and there was no admission of responsibility or guilt. A lot of players see that as hypocrisy on the part of the league. What's your take? Is the league really a safety priority number one to them, or is this a business first and foremost? And that's part of the reason why they didn't release a lot of the documents that never came out of trial.
I hate to do this, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but think of it this way. We're in a league where I can hit somebody as hard as I want to, and it's not considered illegal. If I did it in the street, you'd put me in jail. A lawyer can actually sue for almost any aspect of what we do for a living as a player. Remember that the league is faced with that acknowledgement when they're holding records, releasing records, or sharing records. And I'm not defending the league, but at the same time, I do understand. If I share records that show how head injuries affect people, there will be a lawyer who will pick up a document and sue me. If there was no legal ramifications to it, where we could develop better equipment, where we could develop better techniques, or where we could develop more safety for everything structure for the league and the players, they would pick it up and use it. But because the outstanding lawsuits that could be acquired by it, you actually have to think of it in a business term. And as much as I love the players and as much as I love, safety and everything, I do understand that the money you could lose from someone championing that moment is way more than what you can lose by helping people going forward. The rule won't be to help people going forward. It'll be, how much money can I get this guy because he said he had an injury? Now, the guys that got injured, they deserve every dime. But it'll be a whole group of guys that lawyers will say, well, you were in the league, I can get you money. And that's a problem.
Howard Cross, I really appreciate the time here tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, after the break, we're going to bring in our panel and continue the conversation. Please stay with us.